So a scenario, what could happen with an instructor? An instructor could start teaching an IT Essentials course, and they might also start teaching a CCNA Discovery course. Now, some point along that line, they decide, I've got some time to go through training, I understand NetSpace, I think I'm ready to commit and upgrade to NetSpace. So here's where the instructor upgrades. They're still using Academy Connection for those 2 classes. We don't turn off the access, and they still log into Academy Connection because they need to complete those 2 classes. But as soon as they want to start something new, let's try and get rid of this. As soon as they start something new, a brand new course, that's when they need to open that in Cisco NetSpace. So you've got access to both systems. Eventually this date will come where we've closed Academy Connection. But until that point, you still have access to Academy Connection. It's just you're limited in the new courses that you can open. So the process, this is the process what an instructor is going to go through to move over to NetSpace. And in the next slide, I'm going to show what any other non-students, so ASC advisors and EdCAD contacts, I'll share that process with you next. It looks very similar, but there's one minor difference. So there's really 3 steps that an instructor is going to be presented with. Prepare, check, and confirm, for short. That's what we're calling it. Prepare is really take some time to go through training. There will be training available, and in a few moments I'll go through what that training will look like. And then check to see if you're ready. So we're not requiring step 1 for an instructor. We hope that instructors will go through training, whether you're going to offer training as an ASC or an ITC, or whether they've gone through some of the online training that Cisco will offer. We hope that they'll spend some time to go through it. But we are requiring that instructors go to step 2, which is an interactive assessment. It's basically a simulation where they'll be able to click and act like they're in Cisco NetSpace, and we'll give them a scenario like open a course. And it'll be watching to see if they're clicking in the right spots within the simulation on how to open a course. So the instructors will need to complete this assessment before they can go to the last step, which is confirm. And confirm is basically, I understand what this means. I understand I need to open all my new classes in Cisco NetSpace, and I need to manage my profile over in Cisco NetSpace as well. So we'll just check, make sure the instructor understands that. They'll click a button that says, yes, I'm ready, and that will give them full access to Cisco NetSpace. They'll be able to open a new course there and manage their classes in that environment. Now, for anybody who is not a student, other roles such as the EdCAD contacts or the ASC advisors, instructor trainers, it looks the same, except we don't require the assessment. So if you're an ASC advisor, we're not going to require that you stop here and confirm that you can navigate through the system, that you know how to open a new course. If you want, you could go right to step 3 and you can confirm that you're ready and you can move to NetSpace. There'll still be training for you. So we'll still have tutorials and videos and user guides for those that are not instructors. But we're just not requiring that you stop at that second step to take the exam. So a bit of information about the assessment, and when you start to participate, I'll talk about partner training, and we're going to have some sessions with ASCs and ITCs so you can learn more about the system. One of the things that we'll go through with you in detail is the information about this assessment, because we expect that you could get questions from instructors that are trying to get through the assessment. They're stuck in a certain area. So it's going to be, as I said, simulation-based, and we're only assessing instructors on a few topics, and those are the things that are core to being able to teach in NetSpace. So there's a lot of functionality. Tomorrow when we go through the demo, you'll see there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of features that you could use in NetSpace, but we're only going to test on the key things like, can instructors create a course? Do they know how to enroll students, access the curriculum, activate exams, it's really the key topics. It's either key to being able to teach in NetSpace, or we're covering it because it's very different between Academy Connection and NetSpace, so we feel like it's important that we test on that item. I expect that the assessment will take 15 minutes for an instructor to go through, and it's not a pass-fail or really a percent. It's can they get through the end of it, can they complete the assessment or not. There are unlimited attempts, so we want everybody eventually to upgrade, so we're not going to put a limit on the number of times that an instructor can go through the assessment. It'll be unlimited. So I'll talk a little bit about the training and how can you learn more about NetSpace before upgrading. How will instructors be able to learn more before they've upgraded? Now what you're going to see from CISCO. So our team at CISCO is busy creating lots of video tutorials. These will be little pop-ups. Let's say create a course. How do I create a course in Cisco NetSpace? There would be a video tutorial and also a user guide to show you how do you create a course in NetSpace. For those that prefer the long 200-page user guide, we'll also have those. And then we're also going to host some webinars after the launch date. Cisco's going to host some webinars to share more information about the features. It'll include a demo, and we'll also share more details about the training. Note on the bottom that we are translating training materials. So these top two, tutorials and user guides, Spanish and Portuguese is covered in our translations for our training materials. I don't expect the translated materials to be ready until a couple of weeks after the launch. So when we first launch and we announce Cisco NetSpace and training materials are posted, it's going to take us a couple weeks to get all the translated versions uploaded. But we are planning for Spanish and Portuguese. Now, if you're interested in the detail of what instructor training topics will be covered, here's that detail. So navigation basics, that's really, what are the toolbars, the menu items, the whole environment within NetSpace. I mentioned course creation, so there's a process. You create a course and you enroll your students. And then Canvas has this idea of publishing. So you can go in, you can open a course, you can enroll your students, but then you can go and customize your course. And it's actually not visible to your students. They don't even know about the course until you publish it. So that's an important topic for training as well. And then completing a course. How do you end a course or complete it, which is different than Academy Connection. I mentioned collaboration earlier. There's a lot of collaboration items here in student work and also down here in communication. Some of this will make a lot more sense tomorrow after we've had a chance to go through the demo with you, but there's a lot of flexibility in this area. You can add your own assignments. You can grade those assignments in the system. There's an automatic syllabus. So if you add assignments to your course, they're automatically going to carry over to a syllabus, and you can add specific dates. So if your students prefer maybe just one long list of all the course activity and when assignments are due, they can go and they can look at the syllabus. Or they can look at a calendar as well. You can drag and drop assignments to a calendar or even chapter exams. If you want to say there's a chapter exam due on Friday, you can easily drag and drop that chapter exam to a calendar. Assessments will be a big topic. Both how do you activate assessments and how do you manage the grades in the gradebook. Assessments is something that we'll focus quite a bit of time on in training, and that's because how you activate exams in Academy Connection versus in NetSpace is fairly different, so we want to spend a good amount of time on that. And then communication. So there's lots of ways to communicate with the students in your course. You've got announcements, you've got an inbox. If you're familiar to messaging within Facebook, the messaging in this environment is very similar, where you can send a private message to an individual or to a group of people. And then you've got discussions, your usual discussion threads that you can have with your students in your course. Instructor user guides, I mentioned those, and this is something that I'll talk about in a little bit. So some instructors might want to go to additional training. They might think, I've gone through some tutorials, I've looked at the user guide, but I'm not ready yet. I'm really looking for something else. Or they're looking for something in local language. And so that's a reason that we're really looking to ASCs and ITCs to help to to educate the instructors on this change and how to use NetSpace. And then lastly, the webinars. So I mentioned the webinars, and those are available to instructors, to partners, really anybody who needs to have more information about how to upgrade and understand the features. Institution admin. So this is another way to refer to this is the other non-students. So advisors and NetCAD contacts, success leads at academies. There will also be training available for all of them. You can see this second area here, managing institutions. So there's an interface change. So how you accept an agreement today as a NetCAD contact will be different. If you want to look at the academies that you support as an ASC advisor, how you access the report to show you all the academies that you support and their contact information, that will be different. Success dashboard, they'll access that differently, so the success leads will need training on where to go for their success dashboard and how to read it. And then again, user guides and the webinars also for those non-students. So partner involvement for training. This is not something where we are going out and saying, as an ASC or an ITC, you must offer NetSpace training. We are encouraging as many partners around the world as possible to offer training. And we know that we need to train you first, so we need to spend a good amount of time with our ASCs and ITCs to share more information with you about NetSpace and really get you into the system so you can use it and be able to help with training. So we will offer special training sessions, and I'll share the timeline next so you can see when those will be offered. And some of the topics that we'll cover in those training sessions. So not only do we want to train you on what do you do as an ASC or advisor, how do you look at the academies that you support at your ASC, how do instructor training centers open up a new instructor training course. All those things need to be covered, but we also want to train you on all the instructor functionality as well. Because we know many of you are getting questions from instructors about Academy Connection today, and you'll continue to get those questions related to Cisco NetSpace. We'll also, as I said, review the details of that assessment. So we're going to go through that assessment with you in detail and cover all the topics that we're testing the instructors on, which is really preventing them from upgrading to NetSpace. So we'll go through those details with you. And then we'll review the training materials for instructors and the other admin roles to make sure you know how to refer people over to that training. So the timeline for this, we expect a couple of weeks after launch is when we'll go out and we'll offer multiple sessions. So we're not going to just offer one training session for ASCs and ITCs. We'll offer multiple. And we expect to offer them in this period here. We will, though, have some of our online training available at launch. So as soon as we launch and we say Cisco NetSpace is available, we'll have some of those tutorials and user guides, things like that will be available online. At some point, we expect partners to be ready and they'll start offering their own training sessions, whether it's in person or WebEx sessions, virtual sessions that you offer. Either one. It's not something that we're tracking. We're not going to ask you, did you offer NetSpace training? We will be able to tell you what's the progress of your instructors in the academies that you support as an ASC. We'll be able to tell you, these are the number of instructors that have upgraded or not upgraded. There's a little question down there on whether or not you have your WebEx account yet. So if you're an ASC or an ITC, Cisco provides you with a WebEx account. So if you don't have that yet, either see me at some point during the conference or I'll show you in the community space where you can get that. So I think I've mentioned both of these multiple sessions are going to be offered within this period here. If we need to extend this, we will. So we want to help our partners as much as possible because they're going to really help us by training more instructors. And then virtual in-person training is really whatever the institution prefers. It's not something that we're asking for information on or tracking. Let's see. So I mentioned a couple of questions that have come up as we've started to talk to some people about upgrading to a new system. there's some common questions that have come up. This list is going to grow, and we'll need to share the list with you as you're going to get some of these questions as well. But I'll go through what these are. The first one is, what happens to academynetspace.com? Some of you might not be familiar with it, so not a question from you, but some instructors have said, well, it already exists. You've given this new system a name, but you already have a NetSpace. So the answer to this is academynetspace.com, where all the games are for students. It doesn't change, and it will still be there. We will link from our new learning environment. We'll link from Cisco NetSpace over to those games. We're not going to change the content of the games. Long term, we'd love to bring the games into Cisco NetSpace to have one cohesive environment so people don't need to log out and go to different systems. But for now, no change to Academy NetSpace. Will it be translated? So the interface, as I said, it is translatable or translation ready. At launch, we should expect that it's going to be in English only. And the Cisco team's working on a roadmap for exactly when languages are going to be released. But the good news is that it's very easy for us to do this, and it is translation ready. And we can do that much easier than what we could have done with our current system, Academy Connection. What changes are being made to the curriculum or the assessments within the courses? So as a result of Cisco NetSpace, the answer is none. The curriculum doesn't change. You'll link to the curriculum from Cisco NetSpace, but when the window pops up to launch the curriculum, it's the same. No change there. However, tomorrow I believe Gary Cohn is going to talk with you a little bit about a different project going on that is related to the curriculum and changes there. And when will Academy Connection go away? It really depends on when we launch. Our best estimate right now is we'll have that 6-month period where from the time that we launch, we will let instructors continue to use Academy Connection to open new courses. But about 6 months after we launch, we will say all new courses have to be opened in Cisco NetSpace. And that's what starts to force instructors over to Cisco NetSpace. So not an exact date yet. I think we're talking at least 12 months before Academy Connection can go away. There's a lot of classes in there today that go beyond the 12-month mark from today. So we need to figure out what to do with those classes and the data. So we have a lot of work to do there. So no definite date yet on when Academy Connection will go away. And it's still available. Even though you upgrade, it will still be available to you and to your instructors once you move to Cisco NetSpace, the system and the upgrade. This community is also where you can get your file that you need to fill out if you need a WebEx account still. So if you want a WebEx account for your ASC or ITC, the community's over here. There's a form in there that you fill out to get your WebEx account. So I imagine there's some questions, so I'm going to pause, and if there's anything you want me to go back to, I'd be happy to go back to some of the slides. Questions?
Buenas, hola Kimberly, Winkler de República Dominicana. La pregunta que tengo es ¿qué va a pasar con el histórico de CISCO Academy and NetSpace?
¿Puedes repetir tu pregunta?
Sí, la pregunta es con respecto a lo que va a pasar con el histórico de CISCO Academy and NetSpace, ya que en la migración pasada perdimos parte del histórico, cuando tengo acceso a histórico. Histórico de clases, sesiones.
So we're not going to lose any historical data. The question was about what happens to historical data related to classes, related to students, institutions. So there's a data store that has been built. For a period of time, data is going to be going to Cisco NetSpace and Academy Connection. we will pull all that data over to our new system so that even if you, a year from now, you want to go back and you want to look at something historical, a class that you taught the previous year or a couple years before that, we'll have access to that data. It's going to look different. You're not going to be able to just go in and pull that course up within Cisco NetSpace, but there will be a way for you to still access all of that data. We're also moving the data for institutions over so that when you move to Cisco NetSpace, the system already knows your role, what you're qualified for. If you're an instructor that's qualified to teach discovery classes today, that data is moving over with you as an individual, and Cisco NetSpace will know that you're qualified to teach that, and that it'll give you the opportunity to only open those courses. So it is moving. Does that answer your question?
Gracias.
Hola, Kimberly. Everardo Huerta de México. Son varias cosas que me vienen a la mente después de visualizar tu presentación. Más que preguntas, pudiéramos considerarlas como observaciones. En primer lugar, al migrar el modelo, ¿verdad? Hacia el nuevo modelo, ¿por qué no se lleva a cabo una comunicación tanto vertical como horizontal con todas las entidades, con la finalidad precisamente que a lo mejor por lo que se refiere Winkler es perder esta información en algunos de los niveles, sobre todo en la parte de CTC, ¿no? Que antes teníamos la información. Por otro lado, el hacer todos estos cambios hacia una plataforma administrativa, muchas de las veces llegamos a descuidar algún perfil. Quiero suponer que para nosotros, o sea, para la vista del instructor, lo más importante son sus alumnos, la evaluación y el seguimiento de la clase. Para una persona administrativa, lo más importante puede ser sus academias, sus instructores y, lógicamente, los niveles de capacitación que tienen. Para funcionarios como ustedes, lógicamente tiene que ver con esos pizarrones que mencionas, que tiene que ver con la administración estratégica del crecimiento del mercado, etc. Y por otro lado, comentarte que muchas de las veces todos los escenarios visualizamos la plataforma actual que tenemos y el estar migrando a otras plataformas en tiempos, ¿verdad? Y darnos demasiado tiempo de un año que estuvimos a Costa Rica a este año, muchas de las veces no estamos